All right. Hello. Welcome to Spilling the Loyalty, a Digitas podcast. I am co host Melissa Berger, Chief Solutions Officer at Digitas. Normally, I'm joined by our CEO, Amy Lanzi, but unfortunately, she was not able to be here this week. So we have a special unicorn that is going to be co hosting with me today. Megan Baker, would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Megan Baker. I'm an SVP at Digitas, and I get to work with Sephora every day. I'm so excited.
This is a podcast, I'm not gonna lie, I've been waiting for 3 years. So, it finally came to be. Super excited that you guys are here in my hometown of Atlanta. Lots of great area that you're in right now, and, I was telling everybody earlier, I got married just right around the corner from here. So, this area is amazing, it's booming. Blakely and I were talking earlier about how much it's changed. So, I'm happy that you're here in our city this week. Excited to have you. So we're just super excited about you two powerhouse ladies. Thank you so much for joining us. So I'd love for you to just give us a quick introduction, and then I want to hear all about kind of how you guys think about Sephora, the brand, and driving brand loyalty. So Anne, let's start with you.
Yeah, no, thanks for having us. It's awesome to be here. My name's Cambria, SVP of Marketing at Sephora. I've been there for almost 9 years now.
Amazing.
And I've always been in retail and just love everything about retail.
Candace.
Hi, I'm Candace Payne, and I'm a VP of Marketing at Sephora. Fun fact, I was the first person at Sephora with social media in my title. It's a little crazy thinking about it now.
Absolutely. And especially, again, we'll get into some of the cultural work you all are doing in the conversations, but that's such a core part of your brand. Creators, conversation, culture. So that's actually really incredible that you're the first one to hold a title in social media. Again, we could not be more excited to have both of you here. You guys have been able to strike at Sephora just such a great balance between leading the beauty industry, but also the business results, obviously. I think the blending of curation, creativity, connection, everything that you guys stand for is really impressive. So I'd love to just jump in and talk about how you continue to lead. I think that's something we see a lot with brands. There's a lot of ups and downs, but I think Sephora has really held kind of this leading place for so long, and we'd love to dive into how you get there. So let's start with setting the stage. Anne, let's start with you. So, when you think about the growth that Sephora's had over the last several years, what's been most critical to that? Is it about product, brand partnerships, community, something else, all the above? Would love to just start there.
Yeah, great question. When Candace and I first started working together, we didn't have a media budget. So it's a really interesting question to think about and how you think about growth when you don't have any investment to work with. And I think how we are able to do that is really stick to our values and our differentiators and who we are as a brand and as a retailer. We're all about curation, coaching, and celebration. And so knowing those are, how we want to stay within the marketplace. And the second thing is just really understanding our customer and what's happening in the beauty landscape. And I'm sure you've all been in this core lately with all kinds of ages shopping.
Yes.
Pretty amazing to really understand how beauty can impact anywhere, anybody, and no matter where they are in their beauty journey, and really understanding that. And we really try to meet the customer where they're at.
Yeah, when my 9-year-old niece wanted drunk elephant, I was like, let's actually go into the store and have a conversation, which I think is really important, right? Like, you got to love that these young girls want to come in and really young people, but wanting to make sure we're getting the right product mix. So I love that. So obviously, this is called Spilling the Loyalty for a reason. We talk a lot about loyalty, but we have big L, little L, big L brand loyalty, little L the program. While Sephora has an incredible program today, we're obviously going to focus on brand loyalty. So, what do you think makes Sephora's approach to brand loyalty unique, where there is a lot of competition for attention, share of heart, share of wallet, share of mind? So, how do you think about the differentiation and really thinking about brand loyalty?
Yeah, great question. I mean, we really think about it in terms of like what we want our customers to feel and how they want to experience Sephora. We just did a recent campaign with our fellow partner here, Megan, around really capitalizing on the experience of Sephora.
Okay.
Everyone knows Prime is now a big holiday,
Oh, yes.
sadly.
All of them.
And we know we're not gonna compete with Amazon's pricing and sale, but we know we can compete on the experience. And so we did bring our Sephora clients for free to Sephora and partner with Lyft, and also and realize it wasn't about, getting a ugly box at your door because you just felt like you had to buy something because it was on sale, but you actually had an experience that you remembered, and you were able to try product, talk to our BAs, etc. And so I think really building that loyalty is about really building that experience for our clients.
I love that. And I think to your point of the ugly box on the doorstep, so much of that is either unused or returned
Yeah.
because you didn't actually get to try it and see if it's the right thing for you. So I do love the experience. I loved that partnership with Lyft. I really like seeing a lot of these brands kind of come together in one that you might not have thought a normal like Sephora and Lyft. But it's such an interesting way to bring kind of two brands together in the mobility space and in the beauty space. So I loved that.
Amazon in this case wouldn't be able to compete with something like experience. And it's obviously a place that Sephora just so naturally wins at. We want to make sure that we're, doing the thing that we do. We're not going to sell you a bunch of different categories. We're going to try really hard to make sure you have the best. You get the best beauty available.
Absolutely. That's a perfect lead into some of the next topics. Yeah, let's go.
So obviously Sephora's product mix feels incredibly intentional.
And there's a sense that every brand belongs there, right? You were just talking about it. I think, you used two words that really stood out in that question, and one was intentional, and the other one is obviously belong. We have an incredible merchandising teams. They are so passionate about all of the brands that we carry, and they're really getting indication and finding who's the newest, who is the newest and the most interesting, but also who has a really compelling story that is going to fit very well into, either a white space that we have at Sephora of something that we don't offer, whether a foundation range or something for more mature skin or something that is really addressing a need that we don't see in the marketplace, but also someone that has a really compelling story. We have brand counters that started their brands under Kickshit. We have brand counters, that started their brand because they traveled and they found an ingredient that thought they was really interesting. And I think that that's really important for all areas of our business, is making sure that we're bringing in those brands that fill a need, a consumer need for sure, but also align with our values and can help us, tell the story. And it's a good segue into the second question. You touched on quite a bit of this, but just can you tell us a little bit more about how marketing and the merchandising teams work hand in hand to really create not just transactions, but that lasting emotional connection with shoppers? I think, we try to make sure that we are getting the best product in front of the consumer and the client and what they need at the right time. And that really is a partnership between merchandising and marketing, because the merchandising is going to bring in we say all the time, hands down, the best product in the industry, curation, top tier, like nobody else. They're experts in their business. Yeah. And for marketing, it's our job to make sure those brands get by the client at the right time. When there's so much noise and so much, so many other choices in the market, our job is to help, amplify that story, amplify Sephora's story, so that we can make sure we're bringing the best product to you. Our meetings tend to start with like, oh my God, even on Zoom, oh my God, I love your lip. Oh my God, your skin looks amazing.
I love that though, because you're like giving hot tips and tricks even just in your normal meetings. It's one thing to work for a brand, but it's one thing to then live it as well, which I think is really important and impressive with all of you beautiful women. So, all right, let's get into the cultural conversation, because again, starting in the beginning, you were the first social marketing manager ever to have been born at Sephora. But I do think this is such a core part of what everyone knows about Sephora. So you always have your finger on the pulse of culture. You're championing inclusivity, which I know is near and dear to our heart as well, and celebrating all the self-expression. So how do you stay so attuned? And I'm going to come to you for this one, just with what's happening in cultural shifts in the conversation. I mean, obviously there's a ton of social listening tools, but how do you think about staying up on it? And then how do you think about kind of approaching it?
Yeah, good question. I mean, we, as you know, have a very amazing, engaged community, and beauty community of Sephora customers, BAs. We have a Sephora squad. And so what's really unique about our Sephora squad is it's a diverse group of members who are very influential influencers who also have very dedicated audiences. And so they allow us to really understand what's happening within their own communities, what's happening within social, what's happening within the contacts, and we constantly have our ear to the ground on where those things are popping up. And so I think, what we really really think about is wherever we may have a business need and where that matches with our values and where that matches with what something that happens in culture is we amplify those voices. And we start there. And then, of course, you have to leave room for new ideas and new things that may pop up. But I think it's really just understanding your communities and your customers. And we're so lucky we have an amazing community to lean in on.
Absolutely. And I think, creators and influencers are such an important part of any brand these days. But I love that you have kind of a variety in this squad because depending on the product, the offering, even the background story and the storytelling behind how it was curated, I think helps you determine like who are the best, creators that can speak to that for you, but not forcing everyone. I love that you're really thoughtful about kind of who's talking about what as it relates to your creators. Okay, so Candace, when we think about authenticity, I think that's an important part of this too. When you're engaging with the community and the creators that are really driving that beauty conversation and culture, again, where do you kind of find the role of authenticity as it comes to those?
Listen, beauty, as we all know, is super personal. You are engaging every day with the product that you're putting on your skin, you're putting on your face. It's really helping your own self-expression and how you present to the world. And if you're having, some party and maybe you stick on some lipstick and you're like, okay, I can handle this. Whatever's happening, I can handle this. And that is such a personal conversation. Yeah, those products and those, tips and tricks and things that are going to help you feel that way, that are going to work with you to express, who you are as a person and help you express what you want to on that, at that day of time. That is something that you can only kind of get by trial and by advice and by talking to people and being a community and seeing what works for them. And, oh, what does that shoot on you? I think it would look good on me. And I think that is why, I I would even venture to say a lot of the creator economy and influencer economy came up because of beauty. It's actually quite easy to be authentic when you can lean into that and when you can let the creators tell their stories and represent the product and represent you in the way that only they know how. Yeah. And that they can only speak to their communities in that way. It's why it's so important to have a squad and have such a unique mix of voices. Yeah. Because they know how to talk to their people.
My teenage self really wishes things like Instagram and TikTok existed because my bushy eyebrows and my frizzy hair might have looked a little different in my yearbook photos. Listen, I know all of these there's so much information out there now, but I as a, adult, I love some of the tutorials that a lot of these creators are doing because I'll self-admit I'm not great with all the makeup. I need help. And so I love, again, whether you're super into it and you know everything about it or you're a novice, hair, makeup, skincare, whatever it is. I love that the creators kind of play different roles. So when you think about leading these cultural conversations, it has to still ladder back to your business objectives, right? So when you're working with these creators, balancing authenticity, how do you kind of, have those conversations with them to make sure that it still is laddering back to ultimately you are a business. We need to make money. We need to be successful.
So I think that it is a balance between making sure that we have that diverse mix of voices that can speak to this product as for people, but also making sure that people understand we want to help educate people. We want to make sure that they know why we have the best assortment. There's a lot of choices out there. People have a lot of options. It is, you were saying earlier about our differentiators.
I think what's so interesting too is our creators also have their own cultures. And so what's the secret to kind of blending brand storytelling with performance, with the demand lens, in a way that feels seamless to consumers?
I think storytelling is a big part. As you were talking about other people, you're talking about other cultures and, really making sure that people understand where the brand, the stories behind the brands, the story is our story, being one of the first retailers in the States where you could actually go and touch and feel. And I think that's a big part of our storytelling for us too. Making sure that we're kind of leaning into this brand foundation for us. And storefronts, obviously a big example. What we're working with our creators is the big example.
Well, this has been amazing. I have one final question for both of you. And tying back to our theme of loyalty, of course, what brand can you not live without right now? And we'll start with you.
Mine would be Haribo. Every day, a little bit of candy, a little bit of
Just a little bit. Little gummy.
really lifts your day. Yeah. And as Candace knows, I have them in my office as well. And it just brings everyone else joy.
A sweet treat for you and for your friends. I was asked by a tiny child earlier this week around Halloween if I had gummy bears, and I'm like, "I'm so sorry. I don't, but I will now make sure I have them available." Yes. All right, Candace, what's yours?
Brand I can't live about. I'm gonna say Costco
Okay.
because I'm.
Big shopping.
I mean, I'm also a mom. Two small children. Ooh, very specific snack needs.
I hear you. I like this. It's kind of like emotional rational that we've got here.
Guys, thank you so much for taking the time and Candace for being with us today.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think like what you guys really prove is that loyalty isn't something you buy, it's something you earn. And I think that's a really core, it's all these meaningful interactions, all the things you talked about today are so important to driving that brand loyalty. So thank you again to both of you for being here and to everyone listening to Spilling the Loyalty. Of course, be sure to follow us on Spotify. Make sure you turn on your episode notifications so